This evening, we do the flag. We actually did not have a closed session, so I guess I should say for the TV cameras, it is April 13, 2015, the City Council meeting. We did not have a closed session, and we will have the call to order. So we have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Keener. Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Nyhart.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Degree.
Present.
Mayor Irvin is excused.
And as I said, there was no closed session report, and before that, we'll have the salute to the flag will be Councilmember John Keenan this evening. Keener, sorry.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So that brings us to consent calendar. Anybody want to say something? So that is Councilwoman Nyhart.
Move approval.
Second.
And we have a second.
Second.
Thank you. Shall we vote, please? And that passes 4 to 1 absent. Okay, thank you. So that was items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we are now at our special presentation, which we have a proclamation for what will make very many people very happy. For some of us with gray hair, we would have been in much better financial straits. Women, that is. 2015 Equal Pay Day Proclamation. Whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Equal Pay Act, women, especially minority women, continue to suffer the consequences of unequal pay. And whereas, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, women working full-time year-round in 2013 typically earned 78% of what men earned, indicating little change or progress in pay equity. Whereas, according to Graduating to Pay Gap, a 2012 research report by the American Association of University Women, who are putting this forward this evening, the gender pay gap is evident 1 year after college graduation, even after controlling for factors known to affect earnings, such as occupation, hours worked, and college major. And whereas in 2009, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act was signed into law, which gives back to employees their day in court to challenge a pay gap. And now we must pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which would amend the Equal Pay Act by closing loopholes and improving the law's effectiveness. Whereas, according to one estimate, college-educated women working full-time earn more than $500,000 less than their male peers do over the course of a lifetime. And whereas nearly 4 in 10 mothers are primary breadwinners in their households, and nearly 2/3 are primary or significant earners, making pay equity critical to families' economic security. Whereas a lifetime of lower pay means women have less income to save for retirement and less income counted in a Social Security or pension benefit formula, and whereas fair pay equity policies can be implemented simply and without undue cost or hardship in both the public and the private sectors, whereas fair pay strengthens the security of families today and eases future retirement costs while enhancing the American economy. Whereas Tuesday, April 14th, symbolizes the time in 2015 when the wages paid to American women catch up to the wages paid to men from the previous year. Now, therefore, on behalf of our Mayor, Karen Irvin, of the City of Pacifica, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 14th, 2015, as Equal Pay Day. The City of Pacifica urges the citizens of Pacifica to recognize the full value of women's skills and significant contributions to the labor force, and further encourages businesses to conduct an internal pay evaluation to ensure women are being paid fairly. Done this 13th day, April 15th. So if the AAUW ladies would like to come up. And that's Erica Rigling, and will be... And you, probably somebody for a photo op during this great proclamation. And the ladies wear red, which is a symbol of get going, get hot, I guess. But if you want to say something, go to the podium and then come up here for a photo.
Talk to the mic so the TV hears you.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I think she already said most of what I have written down here. So first I will say the reason we are wearing red tonight is that this is the last day of the year, the last day of the period where we will not be behind in the wage gap. Tomorrow is the symbolic day when hopefully women all over the United States will be wearing red as a symbolic reference to that fact. So I wanted to make sure that everybody would understand what exactly it is that we're talking about. And so what is the equal pay gap? And this is the day when women's earnings finally catch up to what men earned in the previous year in a similar or equal job. It takes the average woman 15 months to make what the average man made in 12 months. 52 years ago, President John Kennedy signed landmark legislation called the Equal Pay Act of 1963 to guarantee equal pay for women and men performing equal work for the same employer. It was the first of a series of major laws that had a profound effect on job opportunities and earnings for women over the next half century. Unfortunately, the gap still exists. On the average in the United States, women must work until April 14th of the following year to equal the same pay that men in equal jobs earned the previous year. In 2015, the average woman earned only 78 cents for every dollar earned by men in comparative jobs. Unfortunately, this disparity compounds over the years. According to the analysis by the Department of Labor's chief economist, by age 25, the average young woman working full-time in the same job would have already earned $5,000 less than the average 25-year-old man. In 2011, nearly 16 million children were living in poverty in the United States. Raising all working women's wages by 10% would lift millions of children out of poverty. And at age 65, she will have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over her working lifetime, which greatly affects her retirement security. It should not take another 50 years to close the wage gap. Hard work should lead to a decent living for all Americans. Federal agencies should safeguard the right to equal pay and make certain all employers play by the same rules. Employers should share best practices for providing equal opportunity in the workplace. Urge Congress to pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which will update the Equal Pay Act of 1963 by closing the loopholes that prevent the original legislation from fully addressing the gender pay gap. This information was taken from the National Equal Pay Task Force report of June 2013. It's 45 pages long, so I didn't print it out. I do have a copy of the index and the summary if anybody would like to see what's in that report. I'm Erica Rigling. I'm co-president of Pacifica Branch, AAUW, the American Association of University Women. We've been in Pacifica now for over 55 years. Thank you very much for the proclamation. We really appreciate it. Have a couple of our members here with us. They're wearing red, including the one up there that's wearing red, and a few others who aren't wearing red. Very happy to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
All right, just wait a second. Are these lights for,
No,
oh, the lights, do I turn these on?
forgot to turn them off.
Oh, okay,
It's
sorry
okay.
about,
Yeah.
but thank you very much. And the voting block in the country, ladies and gentlemen, are those of us who are seniors, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we can get this done for all ladies in our country. Thank you very much for the educated ladies stepping forward. Would you like to come up for someone to have a camera?
Are we going down there?
Yeah, I think it would be easier, right?
I don't know if it's easier, but it looks better.
picture-wise.
Looks better. Okay, don't be so far back. I'm going to be behind Paul.
Oh, we're doing all right.
Not so little anymore.
Wow.
Not yet, but just past 6 months.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to emphasize the fact that I can't.
Was that you who wrote it?
No. They provided it.
April? So that's our special presentation for the evening, and for public hearings, we actually don't have one this evening. So we're on to council communications and then oral communications for anything that is not on the agenda. So do I have any lights? Okay, so Councilwoman Nybart.
Yeah, just a few things since I was last here. Transportation Authority met on the 2nd, and the first Thursday of the month is when they meet, and now that I'm a board member, it's also the same day as the Joint Powers Authority for all of our transportation, Caltrains, Samtrans, et cetera. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I shared with the board was a presentation on what the public has probably heard in the news, and of course is near and dear to my own heart, and that is the statistics on fatalities on the tracks for Caltrains. And when you look at 2013, the total was 13 fatalities, 2014 was 10 fatalities, and already in 2015, this is April, we have crossed 10 fatalities. One of the concerns is largely the rate of suicide, and most of these being, like in 2014, 6 of them were ruled suicide, and 3 are still pending investigation. All 10 are pending investigation. Caltrains did a presentation on the fencing, the amount of effort, just like with the Golden Gate Bridge, that people are going to try to prevent this from happening, keeping as much as they can blocked, but every time they erect something, there is another way to get over it or around it. It's like the net for the Golden Gate Bridge. I just want to stress what I always stress is that we have a public responsibility in this, and that public responsibility is the issue about stigma and mental health. We have to get better at recognizing signs, accepting that it's okay to get help, to have individuals get help, and make that help a true parity in terms of our healthcare system, because we don't have health without mental health. And unless we actually move forward in that way as a society, yes, we've passed the Parity Act, but we have never implemented the regulations, not once, not one bit. And that is an issue that impacts us every single day. So I wanted to draw that attention to folks, and you know, it's really sad. Caltrains and the Joint Powers Board for San Mateo County actually passed a resolution that day to really take even more stringent action and more public awareness with signage and helplines and things to call even at the tracks. But unless we as a public change, I fear this continues. The other issues that I just wanted to briefly tell you about is, some of you know, you attended the retreat for CCAG, and I haven't been here since, John, you were elected to congestion management, so congratulations. One of the subcommittees of CCAG, the City and County Association of Government. But we had our legislative day, and we spent all day going from one legislator to another in both the House and the Senate related to transportation, and really focused on, in very brief, finding ways to get more money for local streets and roads. Also looking at the cap and trade and making the allocations around the cap and trade much easier for us to access, because right now the application process is so onerous that cities such as ours really don't have the staff to apply. And in all of San Mateo County, there were 2 grants, and we're just not going to hit the funding. The 2 grant applications that are moving forward, one took 11 cities to put it together, and that was the Grand Boulevard. So we wanted that to be more accessible. We're also looking for the nexus between stormwater and transportation, and how in the drought to plan for runoff and those sorts of things in transportation projects, so that we capture that and keep it for roadside vegetation or street-side vegetation. Last but not least, we of course are worried about the 101 corridor, and as a county, we're very concerned about the congestion on that corridor. There is movement at the state level to have a toll authority, and in that toll authority, when you move at a statewide level, sometimes the money doesn't always come back locally, and we got assurance that they would keep it in the corridor. Maybe not all right in San Mateo County, but the corridor does go from San Francisco to San Jose, so it will impact 101, Grand Boulevard, Caltrains, that whole corridor is what we're talking about. The retreat was, I thought it was good, but I chair it, so I'll have to ask you guys who. It's probably a biased opinion, but we had the Undersecretary for Transportation come and talk about all the issues going on in the state, and that's always wonderful. And we had great representation, notable representation from Pacifica. Thank you to Van and Lori for attending, and for Councilwoman the mayor, and I think we were only missing you, and I think it was only by accident that it hit on a night you couldn't attend.
That I worked, yes.
Or we would all have been there. So thank you very much for that. And last but not least, everybody remember that ABAG, the Association of Bay Area Governments, as we move into the One Bay Area Planning Process Cycle 2017, we have to look at this housing element that we're all getting ready, and actually City and County Association of Governments did pass our airport noise, as you probably were aware, so that that piece can move forward for us. But it's good to talk about what we're going to talk about at General Assembly, and that is sustainable cities. And as we try to become more transportation oriented and figure this out with still an increasing population and not wanting to build out more into hillsides that we want to preserve, how do we manage to keep people here and still keep the prices of housing in some kind of ballpark of reach? And that is something that is bugging almost everyone. And I will be giving tonight to our city manager. The strategic plan for Caltrans also has come out, and it's interesting that part of the new CalSTA, this is the new transportation agency for the state, and it's a larger, encompasses all kinds of things. Within that, they're really trying to make, I've read this now, Lori, so it's kind of fascinating, because they're trying like Lean Sigma, Six Sigma, and the lean kind of strategic planning, and they're looking more at quality of life, and there's things I haven't really seen in Caltrans before, so I'm at least impressed with the effort and the document. I'll see how they do with it. So there's also a number of reports, this is the season for all the annual reports, so Samtrans is out, the Transit District is out. If you've gotten those in your mailboxes or have them available, they're around. So thanks. Sorry.
Councilmember John Keener?
Yeah, well, the CCAG dinner that Marianne chaired was very good, and the speaker especially provided a lot of useful information. I also attended the North Coast County Water District groundbreaking for a new water tank up on Kristen Hill, which is up just off Skyline, a little knob up there. This will provide an earthquake-safe water storage source, and it's one of several that the Water District have accomplished in the last couple of years. And also, I attended the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, not a celebration, but, a memorial, where Mayor Irvin and I read the names of the 11 servicemen that lost their life in Vietnam. And that was a pretty solemn occasion. And it was also Sue Degree functioned placing the flowers for the 11 people. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Neill? Did you want to say something?
I basically was cocooning the past 2 weeks, I guess, because I went to 2 meetings and both were dinners, so that's about it.
Before I forget, we got a late notice that Senior Donna Northrop, who was here and very enthusiastic at our last council member meeting, actually passed away Friday evening. She was very active with the seniors, so it's quite a surprise. And we will adjourn in her honor this evening. So I was able to attend quite a few interesting things. One comment about the Caltrans, actually, the strategic plan came out after a very fascinating, it's wonderful reading. I'm not the most techie person in the world, but somehow I managed to find these things. On the Department of Transportation website, you can find the October 14th meeting about an appraisal of Caltrans. And then from that came the new strategic plan. It's really fascinating reading. They had on Saturday the 4th, there was a special opening on the trail, the Devil Slide Trail, in honor of Ollie Mayer and information. It's not a booth, but a plaque. It was a very wonderful ceremony and reminds us that we need to give thanks to very active citizens in the city of Pacifica, as well as south of the tunnel, for actually insisting that that tunnel be made, and they actually did come through and make a very beautiful tunnel. And from that, we have the great Devil Slide Trail now, which is, I think, just about everybody is excited about that. I also attended the Vietnam replica of what is in Washington, D.C., and I was speaking to a Vietnam vet this morning who said he was on his way to go, and as soon as he saw the wall, he turned around and started crying. It's very sentimental, and for all those families, military families, I am one. I grew up in a military family. My aunt lost her son 1 year younger than I was. He was a medic in the Vietnam, and it affects the whole city. And our city is affected too, and we military families give Pacifica a lot of gratitude for your quiet but positive support. So, what else did I go to? The Relay for Life, I apologize to Clorinda. I never got back to her, but they're having their kickoff for the July event, which is at the Moose Lodge on the 20th of April. So if you watch for that, that's another wonderful community event that shows our compassion and sympathy for those of us who have family members that are challenged by cancer of all kinds. I want to clarify, I think today I just got some messages, the rest of you may not have got them yet, but if I could clarify with City Manager, is the Planning Commission having a hearing on the housing element on April 20th? No, that wouldn't be April 20th, that's City Council, right?
No.
Do you have those dates?
Housing Planning Commission.
I'd like to ask Planning Director Tina Ormeister to come up to the podium. And
Oh, actually, it
answer that
is, yeah,
question.
Tina, do you mind? And then the other event that I just got a notice half hour ago was the general plan will be on the City Council meeting on May 11th.
There's a joint study session.
So it'll be
Council
starting
and-
earlier than...
And the Planning Commission, starting at 5:30.
Oh, starting at 5:30 on May
Hearing
11th?
and talking about the general plan, the housing element, and the local coastal plan.
And that'll be on May 11th at 5:30 here.
11th at 5:30 here.
Okay, thank you. And
And I do want to confirm that the Planning Commission will be hearing the recommendation on the housing element next Monday, the 20th,
next Monday on the 20th at, is it 6 o'clock or 7?
7 p.m.
That's a regular time at 7. Okay,
Yes.
so those are two very big things that I know the community's been waiting to watch. So those are your opportunities. Next Monday for Planning Commission on the housing element, and on May 11th at 5:30 here, a joint session with Planning and City Council for the general plan. Got that straight? Okay. I'm sorry I didn't get it straight before. Thank you very much. I attended numerous meetings, but I think I've talked enough. We're in good hands. I am always impressed with my fellow council persons across the county. We do try, honestly, to be very diligent to cooperate with each other and also mind the store so that our particular cities do not suffer in any way. So I'm on the Airport Commission and on the Traffic Congestion Management. Coming up is Traffic Congestion Management is Thursday morning at 8 o'clock at Silicon Valley Foundation, and the OES County meeting is at 5:30 on Thursday. And then we have a housing meeting coming up, and that's a little bit further down the line. So, and I think we just got a notice, but I believe it's the one, we have I think it's still biannually meeting of the JPA for the fire, so that would be Brisbane, Daly City, and Pacifica. It's usually held in Daly City, and sometimes it's just the 4 city council persons looking at each other. But it is an open meeting, so.
That's an annual meeting.
It's now an annual, okay, we've gone back, oh yes, we went from, okay, we bounced back and forth on that, thank you.
We have sandwich once a year, Sue. We have a sandwich once a year.
We have a sandwich, I don't even remember the sandwich. Do we actually eat? I don't remember that, but anyway. Okay. So onward, I've lost my agenda. So what are we on? Oh, we're open to, oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Councilmember Keenan, sorry.
One more thing. This Saturday is Earth Day, and I would encourage anybody that isn't already occupied, as I know some council members are, to attend the festivities. They are in the parking lot just south of the Taco Bell at Lindemar Beach.
Thank you for that. And also, Congresswoman Spear will be speaking that same day, first at the Democratic meeting, which is open to anybody, and at the golf course, about 9:30, and then she goes to the event for the Beach Coalition right down at Lindemar. So, okay, so now we have orals, and I didn't see Clorinda, but I have a card from Clorinda. Where are you? Oh, she's hiding behind the podium there. Clorinda, it's your turn. Or yes, item 3. And I have Dan.
Clorinda's there.
Make sure you pull this down. Good.
I'm Clorinda Campagna. I'm here tonight. Good evening, everyone. I should do that first. Madam Mayor and council members and staff. I'm here tonight to talk about the Relay for Life of Pacifica. We're having a kickoff party next Monday night from 7 o'clock until 8:30. And we hope all of you will come. Everyone is invited. Everyone here in the room, everyone out there. There is hardly a person in the room in which you gather who has not been touched by cancer in some way. Last year, more than 171,500 people in California alone. And we are reaching out and inviting you to a family event that saves lives. Survivors, we celebrate you. There are some survivors in this room here tonight. Come and walk the Survivor Lap as we celebrate you. 14 million of you are celebrating life today. There are many who have lost the fight, but we remember and continue to fight back in your memory. Funds raised for research, education, support programs for survivors and caregivers, prevention, early detection, improved treatment, all helps. And that's why we have so many survivors today. The death rate is lower than 20% that it was in the last 2 decades. But we can't stop fighting. At our kickoff, I didn't realize that 3 minutes went so fast. The kickoff party is tomorrow night, is next Monday night at the Moose Lodge on April 20th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And the Relay for Life of Pacifica is a 24-hour community walk against cancer. And that is July 18 and 19. And we hope to really pack the track and fight back with all that we can. And we'd love to have many, many of you there. Thousands, please come at Terra Nova High School. It's free, and it's a wonderful family event that saves lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for all your hard work.
I do have some flyers, which I'll leave on the back table if any of you would like to take one home. Thank you.
Thanks. So I have 2 more for oral communications. Dan, I'm not sure how to say your last name, so I'm not going to try it. Would you say who you are when you come, please?
My name is Dan Stedgink. That's Stedge like Sledgehammer, Inc. like Incorporated. Thank you very much for hearing me again tonight. I'm here to talk on the equalization basin that we mentioned briefly, 3 minutes, and just not against it. I'm not for it. I just wanted to bring up some specific items that were addressed and just hit it. There's an excellent video on YouTube by Dave Grom and Brian Martinez called Pacifica Wastewater System by I think it's Pacifica Currents. It's 28 minutes, but it's well worth watching. Some takeaways. The ideal situation, if your collection system's tight and there's no leaks, doesn't matter if it's rain or dry, you're still going to get the same flow, 3 million gallons all year long. This is a $20 million project in a city that has, I believe, a $27 million budget. It's like the 3rd largest project of all time in the city, if I'm correct, and I may not be. The second we build that equalization basin, we'll still have to repair every single leak that's out there. Every pipe that's out there is rated by a NASCO system called the PACP system that rates it for leaks, how much it's leaking, where it is. They've got a really advanced kind of little tractor, camera on a cord kind of thing that goes down there. It's my personal opinion that a far better solution than billing every of the 13,967 households $1,432 each for this, and I understand it's a bond, but essentially it'll be paid off somehow, is to fix the pipes that have the worst rating on there, starting at sea level and going up away from and of course the lowest parts are Anza and Arguello, which is my front yard, and the entry lot to the Safeway, the driveway that's right by Denny's. Last, I want to just bring attention to whether this is the right thing for Lindemar neighborhood. You know, every time people come to visit here, they're like, you have the best Taco Bell in the world. And when I go to throw away my trash, I'm like, this dump has $1 billion view. You know, I'm taking the sewage department at the word that there is no smell, et cetera, and that we're paying 2.1 million plus the 600 net, so we're paying 2.7 million for that. That's a fantastic deal for that property. It would be great to put 14 houses there. It would be great to put a cafe there, a little coffee shop, a park, anything. I'm not sure we have the money for it. I'm pretty sure we don't. But every sewer, every equalization basin I look at that says underground or whatever is 10 feet off the ground. It's like a tower. It's a dome. Beaufort, South Carolina. The Del Diablo one in Antioch, Pittsburgh is, it's not a small one. It's not invisible. It's not curb height below grade. Doesn't look like a bed of wood chips. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next person is Michelle, I think it's Stevenson. I do not have any more for oral. If you want to come up, just turn in a yellow card after.
I don't know his last name.
Good evening. My name's Michelle Stevenson. I'm president of the board of Pacifica School Volunteers, and I just wanted to share with our council and our community what Pacifica School Volunteers has been up to lately. I think most of our council is familiar with PSV because I recognize some folks who've been in my home for fundraisers and as well as participating in some of our wonderful events. Mayor Irvin also serves on our board as well. I was about to say as we wind down the school year, but I don't think teachers and students would think they're winding down the school year yet, but I'm not an educator. I just talk about it and try to help out the organization. The last school year, PSV provided over 27,000 volunteer hours to the Pacifica schools in Pacifica Public Schools, all 9 of them, including Terra Nova High School and Oceana High School. This year, we are happy to report we've placed 85 adult weekly volunteers who have committed to coming in on a weekly basis into a classroom, pairing with 1 teacher. We also placed 75 weekly teen volunteers, mainly out of Oceana High School, which has a community service component to their graduation requirements, but also Terra Nova. We're ramping up our volunteer coordination with them as well. We're very proud of our weekly volunteers going into the schools, but we have lots of great other programs we support throughout the school year. I know Marianne and Mike O'Neill, and I think most of the other council members who I'm not personally familiar with have participated in Read Aloud Days, where we bring our community members into our schools to read stories to kids. They've participated in Oceana Senior Exhibits, where Pacifica School Volunteers successfully recruited 62 community evaluators this year who partner with the mentor teachers. It's part of the Oceana graduation requirement for the graduating seniors that culminates in a year-long research project that they have to end with an oral presentation. So just wanted to let you know what PSV was doing. Come see us at the Eco Fest on Saturday. We have a world-famous chili booth. Well, we like to think it's a world-famous chili booth. I think Mr. O'Neill can attest to the quality of the chili.
Yep. It was good.
We'll be there, and we're in our community, and we just want to let you know we're there, and we appreciate your support. Many businesses, individuals, and foundations support us, including the Lions Club. Bliley Elevator has been a constant source of support for many years. Sam Mazza Foundation, Woodlawn Foundation, and many, many individuals. So thank you for your time tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. I don't see any more oral communications cards, so we'll close oral communications. And where are we? So now we are at the point of the consideration on the agenda, which would be items 6, 7, 8, and 9. And the first one is Parks, Beach, and Recreation Commission Annual Report to our City Council. And this is an information item only. We're happy to have it.
I don't think it's on. There's
I don't
no
see any lights.
No light up here.
Kathy, your foot is on it.
About to have our PowerPoint.
Good sign.
We don't see any light.
Went to sleep.
Technology is a wonderful thing. Need to dim the lights, maybe?
All right, good evening, council members. My name is Michael Perez. I'm the director of Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Department. And If you'll recall, in May of 2013, Council adopted a resolution providing for appointments, terms, reporting, and reorganization requirements for the commissions and committees, which stated that annual reports from committees and commission would be required. Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission discussed the contents of their annual report at recent meetings, and I would like to introduce our three commissioners right here. We have Chair Cindy Abbott, we have Chair Pro Tem Deirdre Finnegan, and our Commissioner August Murphy. Our Chair and our Chair Pro Tem were appointed to serve on a subcommittee to develop this report, and tonight they're going to present a summary of the Commission's work for the year, provide an opportunity for Council to ask questions, give feedback on the Commission activities.
Thank you very much, Director Perez. I'm Cindy Abbott, the current Chair of the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission, as Mike just noted. And first of all, a little bit about who we are. So this is your current list of Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission members. And at our last meeting, we asked people, what brought our fellow commissioners to the attention of this? We do have 2 seats, as you can see, coming up. And current commissioners share an interest in clean parks and beaches, programs that provide recreation and healthy lifestyles for all ages in our community. Dogs, it's a theme, even though it's not in our mandate of taking care of programs that support health of humans. Dogs are a very big topic for us. And then we also have an interest, one commissioner shared, in how visitors to our beaches interact in Pacifica, with a specific focus on seeing that people follow our guidelines, such as the programs that we support and give guidance on, such as surf camps, the paid parking program, and water safety, something that we'll be talking about in a part of our presentation. In your package, by the way, everybody did receive a report, which we will not be reading line by line, but does provide a recap of our key activities for the year, as well as what we covered at our commission meetings. We typically reorganize every April. Last year, though, with the different changes that were going on, we did that in August. And as part of our commission members, when we just Commissioner or Chair Pro Tem Finnegan and I recently were reelected for other 4-year terms. And then our 2 commissioners who are coming up, though, we've got a great length of service here. We have commission members who have served for 10 and 11 years. And that seems like a long time, but that's actually something that's really important to the continuity of the commission. Because our projects, when you're putting up a park or doing a lot of feedback, doing things that require grant funding, actually take a long time to see through. So it's very valuable to have that institutional knowledge as part of the commission. See, I'm doing these slides too,
So as, I don't know if you all know this, but we as a commission were granted city emails this last month. So we are currently making that transition, and I believe if you click on that little blue email link, it will no longer go to our Yahoo. It will go to our city email addresses. So we are making that transition very slowly, but I think by the time we meet next as a commission, we will have made that transition fully. So you can find our new email addresses there. They're in line with how everyone else's, what is it called? The same email.
So, yeah, so they follow the naming standard of the
convention,
other cities.
naming convention. Thank you. Next slide. Oh, I actually don't think this is on our website, but there is a list of our liaison assignments, and is that included in our handout also? So in case you do not know, you have all been assigned a liaison, which you may or may not have had contact with, sometimes you'll get a phone call or an email, but as a commission, we've made it a point to make sure that our liaison assignment has is aware of what's going on, what we're doing. So if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen. And I know we all see each other probably on the street more than more than in meetings. But we also have some other committees here. We've got Youth Advisory Board, we've got Beach Coalition, Earth Day Committee, Dog Park. So it's not just City Council liaison assignment. So you can find yours there.
And what we wanted to make sure the public was aware, because we don't have the opportunity always to be in front of the public. Our meetings aren't televised any longer, so we did want to make sure the public was aware that our contact information is on the website. It's easy to find how to get in touch with us, and that if there is a project that somebody's interested that falls in any of these, you know who is responsible for it. We thought we would share the overall purpose of the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission, which is to recommend and to advise the council in the acquisition, development, and maintenance of parks, beaches, and other recreational areas, and to encourage the planning and implementation of a comprehensive recreation and human services program that serves the needs of the city. As part of that, we act in an advisory capacity to the council, the city manager, and the director of the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation. And some of the programs, we get regular updates on the great programs that are held up at the Jean Brink Pool. That's a very successful program. We're always really encouraged when we hear that. That's actually something that brings a lot of people to Pacifica. There's a number of swim meets there. They're very well attended. And then our citizens use that too, as well as people do up and down the coast. So we regularly receive reports on the number of people of all ages who are attending the different programs at the pool. That middle slide, you can't really tell, but we did engage with the Youth Advisory Board, and they played a Halloween joke on us, where when we came into our commission meeting, our seats were actually occupied with skeletons. It was on Halloween, and so that shows the sense of fun and spirit that the Youth Advisory Board is bringing to the city. And so we've decided we'll be meeting with them regularly so that we continue to hear what programs they're doing for the teens. They're holding movie nights and different things at the community center, and we want to do everything that we can to support that and continue that interaction. A good thing we didn't hold one on April Fool's Day, or who knows what they would have done to us. So. And then that picture on the right is something that, again, the commission works on projects that take a long period of time. So last August, we were very pleased that after years of review and research, that's the implementation of the symbolic fencing for the snowy plover on the Pacifica State Beach at Lindemar. And that took many study sessions and a lot of work with different people in the community. And that was the first step of the plover protections. Currently, staff is working on the permanent fencing that will take place along the pathway so that people don't start making alternative paths through the protected area. And that's something that people, or that has gone actually back out to bid because the costs were higher than anticipated. So the staff also keeps us very well informed on what's going on with those programs, so that while we're out in the public, if people ask us questions, we can respond to what the status is of those projects.
So other advisory duties, we make recommendations concerning the beautification, development, improvement of our parks, beaches, and the recreation area. You can see here that one of the recommendations that we made was for these beach cleanup stations. You will see the acronym BCUS. It was at the suggestion of an organization called All One Ocean in conjunction with the Pacifica Beach Coalition, that we run a kind of pilot program here. At all of our commission meetings, you'll hear Commissioner Cochran say, beaches, beaches, beaches is our main, our thing, right? So what do we want to do? We want to keep them clean, and we want to encourage all of our visitors. Everyone who lives in Pacifica knows that we want to keep it clean, but it's all of our visitors and youth. So these beach cleanup stations actually educate people. There's directions on the outside. If you open up the lid, you'll find a reusable coffee bag that we get from our local coffee shops, and you take it along your walk, and you dump it in a receptacle, and you place the bag back in. The Pacifica Beach Coalition has assigned stewards to these boxes to make sure that there's no graffiti, and they're being replenished, they're being used. I'm actually one of them, so I check on it every week, and I'm actually in the process of getting together with one of the project managers with All One Ocean to figure out how we can do any sort of statistics, because right now we don't. I open it up and I see, yeah, there's sand in there, they used them, but we don't really have any statistics on it, so we'll see how we can get a little bit more information on that. So that's just one of the ways that we, try to keep our city beautiful and make the, recommendations to the city.
So this project came to us from the public and from different groups. And then recently we were also, while we're a pretty developed city now, when you look back at the history of the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission, back to the time the city started, it was, building new parks and doing a lot of things that are now established, but there's still things that we can continue to do. A citizen came and suggested the other day about looking at the potential for more reserving picnic areas at Frontierland Park. It's a great area back there that it's kind of one of those hidden secrets here in town, but maybe if there was more areas and reserved picnicking, that would be another asset to the city that we could promote and get more volunteers here, particularly because it's sunny back there. Very interesting. So,
Yep, so just in conjunction with what Chair Abbott was just saying, our parks are also another very important asset here. And,
You're doing a little louder.
the 4th of July celebration is a big event that Park Beaches and Recs celebrates here. And as commissioners, we always try to attend and wear our commissioner hats. Also the play guide, which, Cindy, you want to talk a little bit about that?
right. This past year, we've been really supportive of a change made by the department where for a number of years, the play guide that's there on the right, and we've got copies for anybody that didn't get theirs in the mail, but that's what's happened now for the past couple distributions is we've moved back to mailing the play guide out to citizens in Pacifica versus for many years they were included in the local newspaper. And so that's gotten a lot more visibility for the programs out there. We're up to distributing, I believe it's been shared that we're now distributing 15,000 copies of these through the mail. So we're really getting the word out of the programs that are available in case people didn't get a local paper. So we do have some copies here as well, but hopefully you did get one in the mail. That is the latest and greatest that's come out. And we keep up on how are the different programs going, and interestingly, swim breaks at a different time too. So I think the swim programs also have recently opened for registration for the for the summer programs, which include a lot of really great summer camps that are offered for kids of all ages here in town. So do check that out and sign up for a program. So we do take part in a lot of different programs. We've talked about Earth Day. This was last year at Earth Day, and it's the staff attends with a booth as well. So the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Department is there, and offering. I believe there's an activity this year. Traditionally, there's been face painting. We'll have something else going on this year, and it is really a key event for the city. It's coming Saturday because it's one of the great ways to clean up the beaches and to get people involved in that action every day. So as that has grown, the cleanliness of our beaches and how we present ourselves to visitors has greatly improved. And then here's the 4th of July celebration. This was actually the 40th year that Pacifica has celebrated the 4th of July back at Frontierland Park. That's what we celebrated last year in 2014. And we didn't have you do it this year. In reading some old announcements about when the picnic started, they actually had city council members go down the slide. That's how they opened the park instead of cutting the ribbons. So who knows, maybe some year we'll redo something like that in the future. But
Might have been a reason for not doing that.
So, you never know what we may ask. So, but it's always a lot of fun, and it was another beautiful sunny day this past 4th of July when we were there. We also take part in the Senior Services Volunteer Recognition event every year. So that's actually coming up this Wednesday at the Community Center. And the holiday tree lighting, another very fun event that we're all at, and council attends, as does the whole community. And then just this past March was a special program, which was March for Wheels, which was bringing more people into being involved in the Meals on Wheels programs that takes place from the senior center. And that's Gwen Uri, one of our commissioners there in the lower left-hand side, and she was so excited about the program and saw so much about the value what it did, the support for the seniors in our community who can't get out of their houses, that she's actually now signed up and is a ongoing Meals on Wheels volunteer. So we were very excited, and that's a great way of other people to see that program in action and what it does. Back a couple years ago now, and effective in January of 2014, we had the announcement of Dorcetta Hale, our Poet Laureate, and we've been following up with Dorcetta to make sure that the responsibilities that were part of her job description are being fulfilled, and she's doing a really terrific job sharing information about the city of Pacifica throughout San Mateo County at different events. And then that's the poem that she wrote about Pacifica, which was one of the responsibilities that she signed up for that was read in January here at City Council meeting. And then we wanted to share how pleased we were as part of one of our meetings this year, where we had the city manager, Lori Tinfo, come and provide us with an update on the budget. And Lori spent time answering any of our questions, going through the budget in detail, telling us about all the different accounts. And as we mentioned, there's a number of commissioners that have been on for many years, and this was the first time that we had that level of outreach and explaining to us what was in the budget and that ability to ask questions about the parks and the different funds. And it really helps us as commissioners be better ambassadors for the city, which is really our role, to be a liaison and available to answer questions for citizens. So we really appreciated her doing that, and I know she went to the other commissions and committees as well, but much appreciated. We also studied beach parking in 2014. It had been a year since the program was initiated, and we wanted to check in while the finances fall into a different area, and that becomes part of the city budget once the program was implemented. We wanted to make sure that the revenues that were being raised were going back to what the citizens had expected and what we all expected, which was doing a better job of maintaining things at the beach. And so we held a study session in May, and we spent some time with Public Works, who does so much. They're great staff, making sure in supporting the rangers and checking and doing all the facilities work there at the bathrooms and the showers, and seeing that waste is removed from the beach. And we had a really great conversation about that, and the feedback overall has been very positive, that the beaches are cleaner than they had been. There is much more awareness. Some of that has been, attributable to, things aren't always working, exactly the way that they're supposed to. The parking meters sometimes are not operational. So some of the questions that we asked is, who's responsible? If we see that going on, how can we make sure that as commissioners we're spreading the word on how to contact things, how to get information? It's one thing to say something's not working, but a little bit more detail in reporting that type of information can be very helpful to Public Works to resolve the issues that might be going on. So we spent some time talking about what information should we be providing back and to who. And then we also discussed some of the concerns where, because of the paid parking in the Crespi parking lot in particular, more people were using the lot, the community center lot. And so we had some discussions of, should rangers be looking at that? What was the right approach to that? Right now, we're just continuing to have that be monitored and see if that problem kind of just diminishes as people get more familiar with the beach parking. And then something that we've asked staff to follow up on is the protocol. A complaint that we are getting is that the temporary parking spaces that are some of the nicest in the lot and the most visible are right up in front, and we are exploring what is needed to happen to potentially move those temporary lots where people might stop and just use the bathroom or take a picture, and maybe move those to a area a little bit more off to the side, because otherwise people are sitting in that free space for a very long time. So we want to make sure that they're in the proper location in the parking lot. There's a couple of things that we'll be mentioning during our report that we'll come back to at the end, and one of them is there any potential? At one point there was discussion about expanding beach parking over here to the pier area. We don't know if that's an area that the council is still interested in us pursuing. There's, as part of this discussion, we did talk about that, if that was something that we should explore, but we know that there are the variables with the Beach Boulevard property being sold, and really not that many spaces here over by the pier that might end up moving into the neighborhood. So we'll come back to that to see if that's something you would like us to explore. We've also, as we said, we talk about dogs an awful lot, and we've currently just started, based on our conversation last year and ongoing interest on where should off-leash areas be. We now have a subcommittee that has been tasked with exploring this in more detail and bringing a report back to the full commission. The Sanchez Dog Park continues to operate. Over the course of this year, we received well over 100 postcards of support for the dog park. So there was a postcard writing campaign, and those came to us with people expressing their delight in having a place to take their dogs off leash and the hope to continue to keep it operating. In response to some of the concerns that had been raised as far as noise, over there on that slide on the left is a picture of the gate. We've actually installed a second gate so that there is now an entrance that for the large dogs to enter that is separate from the small dogs. And that's a great way to control the noise so that they're more separated and dogs aren't coming and rushing one area, particularly small dogs, as other dogs enter. We reviewed with ourselves that Esplanade, which is the picture at the bottom there, is indeed an off-leash beach area here in Pacifica that is signed. Of course, there are, tide considerations that need to be noticed, but that is an off-leash dog area. And there are signposts on each end as far as the boundaries of where the off-leash area specifically is. And then as part of the subcommittee, they'll be looking at possibilities of Sharp Park Beach, as well as maybe other areas in parks where you can put some limited hours in existing parks without going through all the work and funding that we had to do to actually build the dog park. So we look forward to having them come back to us very soon with some different recommendations. Beaches, really, as Commissioner Pro Tem mentioned, our beaches are one of our greatest assets here in Pacifica, all the way up from Esplanade down to, these are photos of the pier, surf fishing at Sharp Park Beach, and then Rockaway Beach. And then these scenes are from Lindemar. So there is strong interest from the commission to know more about our beaches and who owns all of them, because there's a lot of different agreements. So we've asked staff, and they're in the process of putting together for us a report to share with us who does own all of the different pieces of the beach, because Sharp Park is actually owned by San Francisco, as part of it being related to the golf course. North of the pier, though, is Pacifica. Esplanade is Pacifica. So there's a lot of different arrangements. And again, that's something that's helpful for us as commissioners to know as people ask us questions, and to be the ambassadors and collect information of what are all the different arrangements. So we currently have Director Perez putting together a report for us that will show the different levels of ownership. Not that we're looking to make any changes, but just so that we have that awareness and understanding. So if a project does come up, we know who to go to. And it started with a conversation about off-leash dog areas and who actually had to be the decision maker with Sharp Park Beach, and that is actually the city of San Francisco, with the base of Maury Point being part of GGNRA. So there's a lot of different organizations involved in that. And again, we would, look to if there's any questions of things that will be better informed if the council has questions for us about the beaches. Another program that we're going to ask you at the end what your thoughts are on is there's been some unfortunate opportunities that fortunately are rare, but there's been some beach and water safety concerns at Pacifica with some dramatic surf rescues taking place there. And a member of the commission has done some initial outreach to find out if there would be interest on the part of the North County Fire Department and the Coast Guard to do a water safety training program or to implement some type of program here that could be citizen and agency involved, trained, but people more aware and active in beach safety so that we don't have any unfortunate incidents happening here. So we'll come back to that at the end to see if that's something council would like for us to explore. While the beaches are one of our greatest assets and a great opportunity for visitors and to increase revenue for the city, we do have these other times where while improvement has been really significant this year as far as litter on the beach and the impact of fireworks by now limiting the area that it can take place. These were pictures immediately after the 4th of July showing the amount of trash that was just left by people. So the commission has decided, while we know that we had the limited area of fireworks on the beach implemented in 2013 as a result of the work of the fireworks task force that came up with this recommendation to cordon off a part of the beach as well as to use the parking lot. But now as a commission, we'd like to talk about the litter overall and how to make people do more messaging about removing their waste afterwards. We have great support from the community groups, but it would be really nice for the people too that are letting all of those fireworks off do something about that too. So we've worked on putting more trash bins out there. Again, Public Works is very supportive of all of this effort that goes into it, but we'd like to look at a messaging campaign so that there's less to clean up after and less that actually can flow away during the tide that comes the night time before the teams come to clean up. So these are just some of our great things that we have here in Pacifica. And again, now we'd like to kind of open up the conversation to find out any questions that you have or on some of the areas that we brought up about paid parking or off-leash dog areas, cleanliness of the beaches. We heard conversation at City Council of a bike park, but these are things that we know we need your direction on to be able to move forward with. So.
Or anything that is on your mind that we did not mention.
Anybody want to start? Councilmember O'Neill.
Well, thank you for a very good report and presented very well, Cindy and Deirdre. I think that was real good, and I know you were there for moral support, August, right? Yeah, one of the concerns I have is that I was down at the Rockaway Beach this Sunday, and I did not see a single sign there saying about the wave action. Have I missed that? Did I miss it? Or I did not see a single. San Francisco, has that sign saying riptides and stuff?
I think there's only a sign where it says caution waves break over seawall. I actually think you're right. There's probably not one that says rip currents and people swimming and wading have drowned here.
I think that's like the bare minimum we should do as a city is to put some signs out there warning people that, that they could get killed, basically.
And certainly there's a lot of signage here in Sharp Park where there's also been a number of incidents with the currents and both people and animals going out. So we can explore that as part of the beach safety conversation.
Right. And I don't know, having been on that fireworks task force, I was just wondering if for cleanup, if it would be worth trying to get like orange buckets or the 5-gallon buckets and put some signs out, help prevent fires, put your fireworks in the bucket, You know what I mean? And then you kind of add an urgency to the cleanup. And if you put water in it, then people think, oh, well, we don't want a fire. You know, and they put it in there. That might help incentivize people to do that. Let's see. I mean, I have to admit, when those guys came and talked about the bike park, I was thinking that would be nice. But I have to admit, the economics, I talked briefly with Mike Perez about it, and I just don't even have any idea where the acreage would be, because that picture they gave us looks like it was really, really big. I mean, like it'd be half the quarry or something, you know, and stuff. So it would be nice if you could explore it, but at this point, I don't think it's feasible for the city to get involved in that. So those are my thoughts right off the top of my head.
Thank you. Councilwoman Neihardt?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was incredibly thorough, and August, you did a fine job over there.
He has a key role coming up.
Yeah, I got a key role coming.
Stay tuned.
Got a key role, okay, okay. I was, yes, we're supporting.
Not here just with my pretty face.
You were supporting the chair and the vice chair, I appreciate that. So really, a fine report that the two of you put together. I was very impressed. Just a quick question, did you guys talk when you did the beach parking impacts about the impacts onto the private lots, particularly thinking about Pedro Point Shopping Center?
We know people have moved off there, you know, it's clear, you know, just visually, that's, the process is that the police department takes part in counts and different surveys in areas within the neighborhood. And then that being private property is not really something, you know, that property owner, of course, does have the ability, if they want to do something there, to do that. So we have not focused on that.
They actually have now. They've put up signage for the restaurants, and some of the sites have things. And certainly knowing that it's private, but you always want to think about kind of the impacts on other areas. And
absolutely.
I was just curious if you took any account of that. I thought it was less too, but I'm not 100% sure it isn't because of construction and everything else that's going on down there. The other thing that I was just thinking about is, as you know, we're very focused as a council on the trail and connection with the county park at Pedro Point. And one of the things that I was thinking about when you said, we're kind of built out, we're in a different place than we were in terms of building parks, is two things come to mind, and they are really related to how we get the most bang for our buck in various projects that we might put forward in terms of grants. So I was just curious if maybe it might be worth it at some point to do a presentation on bicycle and pedestrian, the grant application process and what's out there, and see if they generate ideas along the lines for the Pedro Point headlands, but also some of the other stuff that the Land Trust is doing. Start getting people sort of together instead of all working separately. And I know we don't control all of that, but we might invite people at some point. And the last piece of that is, there are complete streets, and we're thinking about parks in urban areas in a very different way now. And several of the grants that came before the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Group for City and County Association of Governments were things that were really about walkability and scenic and areas where you could relax and sit. And if we're thinking about Palmetto in the future and we're thinking about being able to pay for it, we're going to have to go after some grants. So good ideas along those lines would be an awesome thing. In that same vein, I mentioned the sustainability piece when I did council communications, and they have done an amazing job in San Mateo with stormwater capture in those some of their street instead of bulb outs, they have like little places where they have all these native plants and
Little bioswales.
and in a couple of them, they even have all the plants, like near some schools, they have all the plants named and things. It was a very creative way to make use of water that's rainwater and still complete streets and make a urban area more park-like. So those ideas are really beneficial, and so there's a nexus with PB&R and our Public Works Department. And that'd be kind of a unique thing for you to put a little advising into.
Great.
Okay. Councilmember Keener?
Great presentation. Thank you to all of you. And I don't think I'll add anything more other than keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I did attend the meeting when the skeletons were in the, and they also, you had to figure out who was slapped on your back type of thing, guessing. It was very, very interesting. They were definitely animated. I would like to actually see more of the youth, and I know one of the problems is they are in sports or academics or music, and it's very hard, but if you could keep an eye to that as to how maybe they could be more visible. I think because PB&R is no longer televised, that you don't see all of you at work, and them too, but maybe because they are scholarly young ladies and men, I don't know how that number is going balance-wise, but they may be able to do some research on grants, for example. So I'd really like to see more of them. Maybe they could be with you when you make your annual. I don't know if anybody's...
That's a good idea.
Okay. So I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate all your hard work.
So now for August's role here, because he's the fun one of us, so before we leave.
Uh-oh. Is it April 1st?
No. Here we go.
I'm not going down the slide.
Oh, no.
Oh, we have a beach ball.
That's right, because parks make life better, and we want you to remember and have some fun. So
Very good. I like your attitude. Thank you very much.
They do.
okay, you might get that. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, that was the
August.
best role, right?
Yes, thank you.
Sing a beach song?
Thank you.
See, now if we were at a game, we would be throwing these in, never mind.
Play.
I'll try to be good.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so on our agenda, we are in consideration, we just had our first one on Parks, Beaches, and Recreation meeting. We have 7, 8, and 9 to go. The next one will be regarding resolution delegating authority to the planning director to act upon alcoholic beverage control license applications seeking a determination of public convenience or necessity in consultation with the police chief. And the proposed action would be to adopt the resolution delegating authority to the planning director in consultation with the police chief. So we have a staff report, please.
Thank you. The State Business and Professions Code requires that ABC deny an application for a liquor license if issuance would create a law enforcement problem or result in an undue concentration of licenses, unless determination that public necessity or convenience will be served. In the City of Pacifica, the City Council is currently the body that makes those determinations. In an effort to streamline processes, the City Council may delegate its authority, as the Planning Department would also be reviewing zoning conformance and building code compliance. Delegating to the Planning Director in consultation with the Police Chief is what is appropriate in staff's opinion. Staff would be directed by the guidelines listed in the recommended resolution, including consideration of the numbers of calls for service in the area, information provided by the applicant, the nature of the proposed use, and proximity of the proposed license to sensitive land uses. So with that, it's recommended that the City Council adopt the resolution delegating authority to review public convenience and necessity requests to the planning director in consultation with the police chief. And Acting Chief Seidel is here if you have any questions for him. Thank you.
Councilman O'Neill?
Does this include both on sale and off sale?
Yes.
Okay, so okay, off sale, on sale, and then I do know that the ABC does have limits the numbers of establishments within a certain area. So can we override their guidelines, or is this in addition to? Do they have final authority? So, or are we the decision maker then?
Well,
You people.
that number is what's driving the public necessity and convenience requests. So for a geographic area, the ABC splits it by census code tracts. And so within a census code, you'll either have a higher number of reported crime statistics from the police department, or based on the population within that census tract, ABC has a ratio of how many liquor licenses are kind of appropriate. And so if either one, not both, but if either one is exceeded, then in order for another liquor license to be issued, the local agency will be asked to determine if the public necessity and convenience is served. And so that's what these requests are for.
Okay, so the ABC is the first gatekeeper before it would come to us then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious that at this point, is Pacifica over licensed or on target or?
Certain areas are over licensed, and that's based on the population ratio, and the police chief could answer whether or not there's any areas that have the crime statistic issue.
Well, I know that's not we're just talking about this piece here, but I was just wondering if there were areas that were over licensed.
Yes.
There are. Okay, thanks.
And do you want to define what over-licensed means?
You know, the ABC has that, and I don't have that off the top of my head, but they'll look at a certain census tract and the population in that census tract, and they have a ratio for how many licenses are considered, I guess, convenient for the public to access liquor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nyhart?
Isn't part of our problem that we have almost all residential in some census tracts, and in others we have these pockets of commercial, so in the pockets of commercial we end up with more liquor licenses being requested? I mean, doesn't that have something to do with it?
Yes, again, I'm Dan Stadel, the interim chief of police. That does have a lot to do with it. I acted as liaison for the Pacifica Police Department with ABC for about 7 years. I worked with 13 other agencies, law enforcement agencies in San Mateo County, and I did see a big difference in some of the jurisdictions that I dealt with and I assisted. For example, Burlingame. They have a huge downtown area. They have a large restaurant area and a large retail area. They have a much higher number of alcohol licenses, and that is obviously, ABC considers that to be more reasonable given that they have those districts. Right. Whereas obviously, as you stated, in Pacific we have much smaller districts and there's fewer of them, which is the reason why they require, or they allow less.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe you already said this, but so does the public still have appeal time to the council? Did you cover that?
Resolution, yeah.
Yes, written into the resolution is the ability to appeal staff's decision to the city council. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So if council doesn't mind, and audience or residents, could we have a short break just to stretch? PB&R was long. I know it's a short. Oh, I'm sorry.
We can't finish this?
Oh, I thought we were finished. Sorry. I didn't see any more lights.
Well, we have to vote on it.
Okay,
For the
all
public,
right.
and then we have to vote on it.
Yeah, I didn't want to forget the public. If
Do you have
anybody.
any cards on it?
I have no cards on anything, so we do have this item and two more, which were, this next one, item 8 is the mining permit, and item 9 is Kimco information. So if you do have anything you want to say about these 3 issues, if you'd come forward, so.
Okay.
And we have nothing for presently, right? Nobody? Okay, so we'll bring it back to council.
Yeah.
And you have a light, a council member that has my name on it. O'Neill, then go ahead. Fran.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution as before us. I don't see any verbiage here, so I make a motion to accept the resolution as stated.
I'd be happy to read it for you if that would be helpful.
Why don't you?
The recommended action is to adopt the resolution delegating authority for making the, quote, "public convenience or necessity determination" to the planning director in consultation with the police chief.
Do I have a second?
Is
Councilwoman
that yours?
Nyhart?
Yes, I want to second that, and I just wanted to say the appeal piece was exactly the reason I would vote for this. We've had a couple of appeals, and since I've been on, I think you've seen, and they almost always are like on the edge of a commercial district, so it kind of gets into residential, and as long as people have a process for appeal, I'm for this, so.
Councilman Keener, did you want to say something? No, you're okay. So we have a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
Call for the vote, please. That passes 4 and 1 absent.
The names are off.
Okay.
Oh, the names are off? Okay, so if we take just a short break, please, stretch. The health people recommend that you do stand and move.
Okay. Throw beach balls.
AAUW, you stick out in your red. I can't get any attention over there. All right.
Erica!
We're happy that you're conversing, but we need to move on. So we are almost finished. Shh. Thank you very much. So we are now on consideration item 8. We have item 8 and item 9. Item 8 is correspondence from the City of Pacifica expressing opposition to the mining permit under consideration by the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission that would adversely impact Pacifica's beaches and contribute to cliff erosion. Proposed action: authorize the city manager to sign and send the attached letter to San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission. Staff report, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. I'm Lori Tinfo. I'm the city manager, and I'll be making this short report. As it notes, this came to our attention just last week that we learned that this permit was going to be going before the BCDC, which is that name for short, at the end of this week. And this was brought to our attention actually by Councilmember O'Neill. And so we quickly looked at the permit itself and recognized that approval of the permit would actually have some, create some issues for Pacifica, and we wanted to be on the record to bring those to the BCDC's attention before they actually took action on the permit. The issues are changes in San Francisco Bay because of the mining activities would then change the amount of sand that travels in the current down to our beaches, and without that sand in the water can also contribute to the erosion of our cliffs. So the letter that's attached for your consideration, that's before you for direction to me should you decide to do that. There's also a copy of the actual permit application in case you wanted to take a look at that. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So Councilman O'Neill, do you have a question? Was that from an old one?
No, I just kind of wanted to give a little statement in that actually this is a renewal of a permit that was granted about 10 or 15 years ago. And since that permit has been issued and the company has been mining, the sand has decreased, and that's where they came up with the currents and looked at the modeling. So we are suffering already because of the present permit that has been issued in the past. So I just kind of wanted to reiterate that.
Is anybody else?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Nihart.
Just a comment. Actually, I was just mentioning this to Councilman Keener, is that when they did the sediment realignment, this piece of it wasn't really included in that sediment realignment component. So, you know, the whole coastal issue out here. So this was very revealing, and I thank you for bringing it forward. It's an interesting thing and what's really complex. Good.
Did you want to say something, Councilmember Keener?
So I would encourage members of the public to read the letter that was written by Lori Tinfo and the staff, because I think it is very good.
Sure. Councilman O'Neill.
I did want to mention is that this is coming up for hearing at BCDC, the Bay Conservation and Development Commission. I think it's this Thursday.
16th.
16th, which is Thursday, correct? Yeah. So if you actually read the report that's part of it's the email address of Brenda, the woman that's like the staff that wrote this. So the quickest way at this point would probably be to email her and hopefully say that you don't want to see this happen. So this is the final date that they're making a decision.
Anybody else? Actually, I think it would be a good idea, and I can't find it at the minute, to read the letter. Do you mind? If we read it aloud?
It's on page 128 of the packet, if that helps you.
If you have it, why don't you go ahead and read it?
I'm happy to do that. So it's BCDC permit application number 2013.004.00. It's addressed to Brenda Godin. And it
Can you
says,
be a little louder? Sorry.
Sure, sorry.
Thank you.
The City of Pacifica reviewed the BCDC permit application referenced above with great concern, and I'm writing on behalf of the City Council to strongly oppose approval of the permit. As the application describes, approval of the permit would mean the continued removal of sand from the San Francisco Bay to be used in construction activities. This action has consequences that affect our beaches and contribute to cliff erosion in our city. More specifics follow. The areas proposed for sand mining are within concentrated tidal flow paths east of the Golden Gate. Changes to the bay floor configuration in this vicinity, resulting from the mining, will alter the current rates of sediment transport out of the Golden Gate and contribute in the erosion and contraction of the San Francisco Bar, which will effectively result in less sand delivered to Southern Ocean Beach and to Pacifica. Modeling has demonstrated that such decline in sand supply affects the wave energy reaching the shoreline, with Southern Ocean Beach and beaches to the south, including ours, being more exposed. Beach erosion is a major concern for Pacifica. In 1998, 10 homes along Esplanade Avenue fell victim to beach erosion and had to be demolished as they started falling into the ocean. More recently, in 2010, the property at 380 Esplanade also experienced cliff erosion that required emergency response from the city. The volume of proposed sand mining, which is 1.2 million cubic yards per year, is approximately 15 times greater than the annual sand volume estimated to enter the bay from the delta. Sand extraction of this magnitude should be anticipated to have a significant negative impact to sand transport out of the bay. Mining of sand as currently proposed will create more than a decade of bay floor disequilibrium. The sediment transport system will attempt to replace sand lost to mining, and excavated cavities will be filled with new sediment. During the period of mining and subsequent period of replacement sediment deposition, the transport of sand out of the Golden Gate will be reduced, resulting in negative impacts to outer coastal beach nourishment. Current wide sandy beaches in front of coastal bluffs within Pacifica play a critical role in absorbing and reducing the energy of waves that may reach the bases of the bluffs. Because many local bluffs are composed of poorly cemented silts and sands, they are highly susceptible to erosion and undermining from the impact of waves that fully strike exposed bluffs. Wide sandy beaches must be maintained to minimize the ability of waves to strike the bases of local cliffs. Rapid bluff retreat will occur as the widths of beaches are diminished by the reduction of longshore sand flow. Beach nourishment through longshore sand flow will be negatively impacted by the proposed sand mining. Due to current urban drainage facilities, dams, and erosion control measures, sand is already in short supply to nourish beaches along the San Mateo coastline. Reduction of sand exiting the Golden Gate will reduce outer coast beach nourishment, resulting in narrower beaches and increased rates of coastal bluff retreat within the city of Pacifica. In addition, as sea level rises, increased amounts of sand will be needed on beaches to prevent erosion and control the rate of coastal shoreline retreat. The proposed mining will reduce the volume of sand in the bay and reduce sand transport to the outer coast at a time when beaches are already stressed by sea level rise. In summary, approval of the permit poses a serious threat to both city infrastructure and private developments. The City of Pacifica strongly protests the issuance of this permit and respectfully requests the BCDC not approve it. Sincerely, Lori Tinfo.
All right, thank you very much. I also, was a long report, and I wish, as usual is my case, I wish I had more time to investigate it, but I was concerned about fresh water when we have a drought, and they did have some suggestions about how they might help that, but still, considering sea level rise and the drought, I'm gravely concerned about this, and I was a little surprised because BCDC is usually environmentally sensitive, so do we have, you did give the motion, did you? Oh, I forgot, don't mean to forget you, public, but I don't have any yellow cards up here. Does anybody want to say anything about this? Feel free to come, and you can turn in a yellow card afterwards. No takers? Okay, bring it back to council.
That's what I was going
Did you call me?
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
Authorize the city manager to sign and send the attached letter to San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission.
Thank you. Councilmember Keener?
Second.
All right, let's call for a vote, please. And that is...
Wait, I don't think he meant that.
Oh, sorry.
Might want to reset this.
Those things happen sometimes.
Push the yes button.
Ready?
Okay.
Maybe, we didn't have a no on it. Are we ready?
We'll try it
Call for the
again.
vote
Try
again.
again.
Let's see how it goes. I think you said the names were off.
They fixed it.
Oh, okay, that might have been what happened. Okay, thank you very much. So that
I don't think
passes.
they did fix it.
They're not in order, but that doesn't matter. It was unanimous.
Because that would have been.
Are we okay? Are all our votes recorded
We all
properly?
voted yes, but they aren't right.
Okay, so,
Let's move on.
yes, onward, we're almost through this. Okay, we are in the last consideration item, which is item 9, and it's summary of a meeting between city staff and Kimco representatives in follow-up to direction given by the city council on February 9th, 2015. Proposed action, no action necessary, information item only. Thank you.
Good evening again. So this is just a report back to the council on a meeting that I held with the Kimco representatives at the council's direction during the February 9th council meeting. So I met with 3 Kimco representatives, including the Western president, and I also included our planning director, Tina Warmeister. And it was a very good meeting. They gave us an overview of their plans for both of the shopping centers within Pacifica and went on to explain why they really are not always able to share as much information with us, with others who are interested, because of the needs of the new tenants. So they went on to explain that new tenants moving into a shopping center have their own considerations to take into account in terms of the timing of announcements, things that include their own employees, for example. So it was helpful to better understand some of the constraints around their ability to communicate. I did mention Lindemar Shopping Center and asked about the fact that it was on the market last year for sale, and we wondered what the implications of that were. And they clarified that that actually resulted in a transfer. They bought out their partner, and that Kimco's intent is to stay in Pacifica with both shopping centers, and actually they're expanding in the Bay Area. I also asked about the vacant Denny's site, because that has gotten a lot of attention from the community, and asked what the plans were, and they turned that question around and asked me what the city would like to see there. So I took that as an opportunity and actually posted that question on Pacifica City Hall Listens, which is our new online tool to engage the community. And before this meeting I checked, and there had been 161 people who had actually checked it out, and 33 folks who had offered their suggestions for what should go into Denny's. So the plan is that'll be up for another week, and the plan is at the end of that time, I'll summarize all that information and share it with Kimco, and they can have the benefit of understanding what we want to have come here.
Okay, Councilmember O'Neill?
She's not done.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say 2 more short things. One,
Can't breathe around here.
I took it as an opportunity to also share with them what the good things that are going on at Pacifica, to demonstrate that we are a place where they can invest. They might want to invest their money and make their shopping centers more successful. And I talked about Beach Boulevard. I talked about the change in ownership of the quarry, and also Harmony at One. All of those things are pretty big news to us. So I shared those information with the Kimco folks. And then at the end of it, they said that they really thought that the meeting was very beneficial to them, and asked if we'd be willing to have regular meetings, perhaps monthly. And Tina and I heartily agreed, and so I look forward to those. So overall, it was a very productive meeting, and I think we're going to be on the track to have a better relationship with them.
Great, thank you. Councilmember O'Neill?
I just kind of wanted to respond, because I've gotten quite a few emails, phone calls, and stopped at the store about, hey, go after Kimco. So I know there is a lot of community concern and kind of like pitchforks and torches, but I would like to see what happens with these meetings. We probably will be getting an economic development director fairly soon. I would like to see what happens here before we actually try to pull out a hammer. I think, trying to work cooperatively with someone, you get more with honey than you do vinegar. So I think I would like to just maybe, I would discuss with Lori when it would be an appropriate time to discuss a vacancy ordinance or whatever. But I am pleased to think that they actually responded, and that we actually had a meeting, and that they're actually willing to see us again. I was disappointed. It was like a week after your meeting, the pet store closed, and I'm hearing rumors of 2 more stores that may be going because of rent increases. So I am concerned about that is, are they just yanking our chain type of thing?
I can offer a piece of information. The Mayor's Walk this month was out at Lindemar Shopping Center, and it was on Friday. And so we covered roughly half of the shopping center. So yes, that one pet store did close, but it's being replaced by Pet Food Express. And that's actually up on their website. So I think that there's some turnover occurring, but I think that they are making good on their, how they indicated that they do have a plan, and they are going to be filling the vacancies. So we'll stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you, Lori, for doing that.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions? The public, I still don't have any yellow cards. Anybody change their mind and want to ask a question or make a comment? No takers? Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Anybody else still? Yeah, I really appreciate negotiation or discussion is really a great model to go by. Thank you very much. Appreciate Councilman O'Neill bringing up that. And really like the idea that we're discussing things. I'm sure we may not agree on everything, but I think it's a great idea. So do you need a motion, or this is information, right? Information. Okay. So we are at the end of our council meeting, and I put aside, we are adjourning in honor of Donna Northrup, who has been very active in the senior community and at our community center. A lot of people probably know her, and we're blessed by all her energy, as the city has been, so we are adjourning in her honor. Thank you very much.